Welcome to Panels and Borders. I'm Dominic, and this is episode 3 of Comic Covers, where I talk about comic covers. And this week, I want to talk about the king, Jack Kirby. Now, Jack Kirby is like the king of comics. He has his contributions to the comic book world. You could just go on and on and on about it. He's the creator of so many great ideas. Him and Stan Lee built the Marvel Universe. And, his contributions to DC Comics as well. Many of the characters that exist in DC and Marvel both were created by Jack Kirby. And his artwork is extremely distinct. And you cannot mistake it anywhere else. As soon as you see a piece of Jack Kirby artwork, you know it's Jack Kirby. He had such a distinct and unique looking style to his art. And I'm a huge fan of his art. And the comic book cover I want to talk about this week is Tales of Suspense, featuring Iron Man and Captain America, issue 82, October 1966. So this comic book came out quite a few years before my time. It's Tales of Suspense, and this is actually the second copy I have of this comic. I actually have 2 copies of this comic. One copy I picked up, I believe, many, many years ago when I was a kid. I found it in a used bookstore that had a bunch of comics there, and they were selling the comics for like 25-50 cents each. And I found this one, and it was in kind of pretty rough shape, but not too bad. It was still held together, and it was readable. So I bought it and read it, really liked it, really liked the story. It had 2 stories inside of it, one with Captain America and one with Iron Man. So you kind of got double the bang for your buck. And for what it cost me, 50 cents, it was totally worth it. And it kind of got wrecked. I still have that copy, but it got wrecked. One of my nephews had kind of got playing around too rough and whacked the comic and knocked the cover right clean off of it. And so the cover was completely detached from the book. And then recently I rebought this comic at a comic book store in much, much better condition. Unfortunately, it cost me $34 and not 50 cents like it originally did. And this cover, I really like this cover because you got, great artwork, really dynamic looking artwork by Jack Kirby there. His drawing of Captain America, and Jack Kirby was a co-creator of Captain America. Him and his wartime buddy, when they were in the Navy, they conceived of Captain America's while they were in the Second World War. And you have, kind of like this ghostly background of all these kind of like ghostly images of past enemies of Captain America, like haunting him, like coming out of the woodwork there, and he's like reeling back against them. And you have him in his most famous version of his costume, in my opinion anyway, the most famous version of Captain America's costume. And you have like the shadowy figure in the doorway. Who is this shadowy figure? The maddening mystery of the inconceivable adaptoid. So who is this adaptoid? And who's this new enemy Captain America has to square off against? And what I like about the old comics, the 60s and 70s and 80s and even the 90s, especially, like, there's just they have a quality about them that isn't there now in the new comics. Sometimes it's there. It's not always absent, but like the comics now, especially with Marvel, like modern day Marvel, this is not a new thing. This has been going on for quite a while, but I started noticing these kind of like bland covers where they're digitally painted and they just don't have the same impact or something as the older covers. And I started noticing this in the early 2000s. Marvel's covers started going like this. And they still do it, and it's still ongoing, and it just doesn't have the same, like that same impact. It doesn't have that 4-color pop to it like that the older comic covers have. Like this one really pops off the page. It looks great. Like this would look great as a t-shirt. This would make an awesome t-shirt. Like you see all these t-shirts that are sold in stores that have comic book covers on them. And the covers are always from comics of the 60s and 70s because they look so great. They look so amazing. And they look great on a t-shirt. They look great on the wall as a poster or a pinup. They look really awesome. You don't see no one going around with you don't see them making or marketing T-shirts with modern day comic book covers on them, because a lot of the comic book covers that are on the go now, they just don't. They're not appealing to me. They're kind of flat and dull looking, and I don't know. It's just some of them do. I mean, not all of them. Some of them do. Some have really good covers, but a lot of them don't, in my opinion. And Captain America, a great classic character. One of Marvel's, and a huge character now, especially because of the MCU and all they've done with that character. Captain America is like a household name now, really popular character now. And there's one thing I wanted to just talk about for a second here concerning Captain America. And, I don't want to get too political about this, but there's something I kind of have to get off my chest. And it's an argument that has always been leveled against people who are into Captain America and like Captain America. And they always have to, when you mention someone's a Captain America fan, or if you like Captain America, I've heard this argument a few times from people that, how can you like that character? I mean, for all that, he represents America and all the things that America does around the world, and all that to, with their foreign policy and all this kind of thing. Like, how can you like a character like that? Now, see, anyone who's not American and gets that argument thrown at, because I'm not American, I'm Canadian, and but I've heard that argument leveled against Captain America. And my response to that argument is Captain America is a representative of the American dream. And the American dream is not the same as the American government and American foreign policy. Like, those two concepts, to me, have to be separated. I mean, the American dream is all about, you're coming to America, you're coming to this new place, this is where you can make your dreams come true, and for a lot of immigrants that come to the United States, that's true. I mean, they really do that. I mean, one great example of the American dream where it really works is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He came to the United States with just his gym bag. He couldn't speak English, and that's it. And look, he became a huge movie star, champion bodybuilder. He owned a brick lane business, him and his friend, Franco Colombo, and he made it big in real estate. All this before he was ever even a famous actor. He was already, wealthy man, and he arrived there and he had nothing. He just had that will of iron, and he just took advantage of, what the United States had to offer. And, a lot of people, immigrants around the world, they want to find out how to get to the United States. Not a lot of people's looking to get to, like, a great argument. Again, I heard from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He says he's been all around the world, and everyone asks him, how do I get to the United States? How do I get to America? He said he never hears anyone saying, well, how do I get to North Korea? How do I get to China? It's the West is a very great place to live. We're really free over here compared to other parts of the world. Here in Canada and in the United States. And the American dream, and that's the American dream. You can come and you have everyone has an equal opportunity, and and that's what Captain America stands for. Captain America doesn't stand for American foreign policy. I mean, that's a totally different thing. That's that's the government. That's a corrupt body that's going around and poking its nose around the world and causing all this mayhem and death. Captain America doesn't stand for that. And I think that was illustrated very well in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where Captain America, he's this man at a time, and he doesn't agree with his government. He goes against his government. He's very stuck to his values, his principles. So he is he's the American dream taken form. And he is the American dream. He's the American people, not the American government. Captain America is, the embodiment of the spirit of the American people. The people that are on the everyman, the people that are on the ground, the immigrants, and Captain America stands for the immigrants. The people who were born and raised in America, and the American dream, and equality, and being fair to everyone, and equal opportunities for everyone. That's what Captain America stands for. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, because that's always an argument that really, really grates on my nerves when people throw that around. Like, how could you like Captain America? It has nothing to do with the American government and their politics and all that. It's totally two separate things. And the other thing about Captain America is, you have in literature, you have like certain classes of characters. You have like, you have the everyman character, like Spider-Man. He's the everyman character. He's has to fight crime, but at the same time, he has to worry about paying bills and paying rent and keeping his job and all this. Where Captain America is like a paragon type character. He's kind of like him and Superman are both paragon characters. They're both virtuous and moral paragons. And, they're the characters that other characters look up to. They're the leader. They're the ones very similar to like another paragon character is like the character of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. He's a paragon character. Or, like Captain America is usually the leader or the mentor of the other superheroes, kind of like how Gandalf is the leader and the mentor of the group in Lord of the Rings. Or like Obi-Wan Kenobi is... he doesn't start off as a paragon character, but by the time you get to the first Star Wars movie, he is a paragon character. He's the paragon character to Luke. He's the one that Luke looks up to, and he's kind of like the Gandalf paragon type character. And that's the kind of character that Captain Marvel is, in my opinion. Or Captain America, I mean to say, is in my opinion. So, yeah, again, awesome cover. Great cover. And then, so that's everything I wanted to say about that cover. And, tell me what you think in the comments section. And, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you at the next one.